Many of us are dealing with a problem right now that has very few short-term consequences, but literally deadly long-term effects. It's one that creeps up on you in the background, but you don't notice it until it's often too late. The reason I'm talking about this today is because I've talked to quite a few people in the last few days and have noticed these overwhelming patterns. And the common pattern, the common theme is that everybody has some goal they want to achieve, some pain they want to overcome, but they are not priorities. Instead, they're often expressed as, it would be nice to lose 20 pounds. It would be nice to get faster on the bike. It would be nice to do X, Y, and Z. In other words, it's almost like complacency with our fitness, with our health, with our goals. So let me ask you something. How much do you want this? How much do you actually care to reach your goals? Because when your goals are not priorities, you end up relying on bursts of motivation. And relying on bursts of motivation is a very tricky game to play. If you're not willing to put in the work because your goal is not a priority, but rather something that would be nice, you're never going to reach your goals. Many people see their goals like that, almost like luxuries rather than necessities. And thus they hold the false belief that they need to rely on motivation in order to take action. Motivation is fleeting, and it's actually a matter of priorities, because it's only when the motivation fades, the momentum comes to a stop. That's when the real work begins. Exactly like when you're riding. If you're riding down a hill, it's all fast and easy and fun and chill, and it's only when the momentum is slowly coming to a stop and it's getting harder and gravity is working against you and you're coming, let's say, on a rolling hill back up, that's when the real work begins. But you'll only do the real work if you actually want it. The problem is when you don't see the consequences of not reaching your goal, you don't really care. So for example, I talked to this guy yesterday, super nice guy, and he told me that he gained 13 pounds. And he's been overeating out of boredom. And when it comes to, riding the bike or training, it's just, there's so many other things that come up, like, oh, I'm gonna work on this thing instead. And that's normal, but he didn't really see these things as a problem because they weren't actually causing any immediate issues. He was always skinny his whole life, and there are other things that take precedence over the bike, over training. I also spoke with another man, around 30 years older. He was overweight, diabetic, and had heart problems. And he explained to me that what got him to where he is today is that he ignored the warning signs. He overate, gained weight, didn't feel good, and he had this "wouldn't it be nice if I lost this weight" goal, but never acted on it. And the consequences didn't come in the short term. They came stacking up day by day, so small that you didn't even notice, but 30 years later you look back and you realize what happened. And he was living in regret of the actions that he didn't take. And so here's the deal. Your health, your fitness are investments into your future. They pay immense dividends in the long run, but very often the short-term gains are not worth it for many people. At least not worth it to set it as a priority to take action. But don't ignore the warning signs your body gives you. Your fitness must be a priority. And if you're watching this and you know someone who needs to hear this, I'm going to ask you to share it with them, because I think this next story that I'm about to illustrate will really hit home for a lot of people. If you're a father, if you're a mother, if you have someone under your care, this is even more important. Many of us see our fitness, whether it's cycling, whether it's playing some sport, whether it's going to the gym and training, we see it as a hobby rather than a necessity. But hobbies fade when life gets busy. Priorities don't. Necessities don't. And I'm not saying that you should prioritize your health and fitness goals above everything else in your life. Not at all. But if you don't prioritize them at all, you will slowly lose your ability to do other things. To spend quality time with your loved ones. To work hard. To live. A client of mine recently shared that as a daughter, she grew up and watched her father completely neglect his health. He did not care at all about his health, and it was very painful for her to see this. She saw his health deteriorate right before her eyes. He's in his 60s and acts and lives as if he's in his 80s and 90s. And for her, she mentioned, in her words, What hurt her the most is there was absolutely nothing that she could do because he was the only one who could make a change. And she knew that if he just invested in himself, if he just put in a little bit of work, made simple changes and made it a priority, he could have changed his life dramatically. And her relationship with him would have been so much better. And this realization actually made it all the more important for her to take her training, her health, her fitness seriously, so that in the future, her daughter doesn't have to go through these things. Her daughter wouldn't be scared that her dad's gonna die, her mom's gonna die. Now here's the deal, it's so hard to make these decisions when you don't see the immediate effects of your decision. It's so easy to skip the workout, to eat the cheat meal, to sleep in or to not sleep at all, to drink the alcohol, to spend the money, to do all these things that give the short-term satisfaction. When you feel like you're young, when you feel invincible, when you feel like it doesn't matter what you do, you don't see the consequences because they don't come immediately. But you must invest in your long term because the warning signs come. Some people heed the warning signs and then begin to take action, and others keep living in ignorance. Who are you going to be? And so I urge you to take an honest look at yourself. Are you allowing complacency into your physical health and fitness? Proverbs 1:32 says, "Fools are destroyed by their own complacency." And I don't want you to be destroyed, genuinely. Investing in yourself, in your health, in your fitness, in your well-being, in your growth is not selfish, because all of these things affect other people in your lives. You're doing it to be a better parent, a better spouse, a better worker, business owner, a better servant of the Lord. You are not selfish when you work towards your goals and invest in your physical fitness and health. What is selfish is when you make it only about you and it becomes self-glorification. And if you are on this side of things, on the other extreme, with the self-glorification and the vanity, I ask you one question that my mentor asked me: why seek to glorify yourself in a world that crucified its Savior? If this resonated with you, please like, comment, subscribe, share with anyone who you think needs to hear this message. And I hope I can catch you next time on a future video.